Now, the Civil Aviation Authority has indefinitely suspended Comair's operating license over safety concerns affecting Kulula and local British Airways customers. This could put pressure on the operators to fill the void that has been left by this suspension. For more on this, I'm joined by FlySafair Chief Marketing Officer Kirby Gordon. Kirby, good evening and thank you very much for your time. The question is, are carriers like yourself ready to pick up the slack and fill the gap? Do you have capacity?
Look, I mean, we do whatever we can in order to try and accommodate as many passengers as possible. The reality is a big part of a low-cost carrier model is that you need to utilize the metal that you have as best as you possibly can. So it's not really often the circumstance that we would have aircraft standing around that aren't actually being fully utilized. And as a result, it's not as though we're able to put on a great number more flights to fill the gap. But, you know, as and where we can find a little gap in the schedule somewhere along the line, we have popped in an extra flight or two. But yeah, with the fleet fully deployed, it is quite tricky to actually just create more and more flights.
Have you seen a surge in ticket sales?
Absolutely. No, I mean, look, I think it stands to reason that with a vast amount of the actual seat capacity in the market being stalled as it has been, you know, you see a lot of particularly last-minute people at the airport needing to make alternative arrangements, and so we've certainly seen some pretty full loads.
Yeah. Now, tickets, of course, were priced for a particular demand at a certain time when there was supply. Now, what are the laws of supply and demand saying? Have you made adjustments to your prices now that there is more demand for your tickets?
Look, unfortunately, this is always a question when these things happen, and, you know, they have happened a few times in the last couple of years. The reality is a last-minute ticket on any carrier is inevitably the last seat on that particular flight is likely to be one that will command quite a high price. And of course, if you're booking amongst so many, you know, individuals looking for those last seats, they are likely to be more expensive, and especially with this incredible amount of demand. I mean, we've seen probably 15 to 20% of the flying South Africans this weekend be stuck without an alternative, you know, flight. So they're all looking for flights, and they're looking for them for now. So you can imagine that creates quite a massive demand spike.
Yeah. And what advice would you then give to would-be travelers, and maybe some already booked on the Comair? They must cancel their flights. What do they need to do in this particular situation?
Look, I guess it all depends on one's needs at this stage. I think from what I've seen, the advice that have come from the affected carriers has been for their passengers to seek alternative options on other carriers. I have no doubt they'll do right by their customers in the long run. We know we're all in the same game, and we know what it means. So it seems that in the short term, certainly that would be good advice. But I'm sure they'll be back in the next few days. I know that the teams on that side are working incredibly hard. And I'm sure that they'll be back online soon enough.
Yeah. Yourself, I mean, as far as the destinations that you go to, have you had to add new destinations that you were previously not servicing?
No, we've got a pretty full network at this stage, so we cover most of the destinations that would have been affected. I don't think that there were any new particular bases that we had to add or any new routes. It was just where we could add additional capacity to existing things.
Yeah. And what does that look like? I mean, does it mean you guys can extend your working hours, fly a little bit longer than normal if you were to close at 6, maybe close at 8, close at 9? What does it look like?
I mean, that would be wonderful, and I think in some circumstances where we are able to throw in an extra charter or something along those lines, you know, that might be one of the kind of metrics that we can play with. But the reality is that, you know, you work out a roster very closely in terms of being able to utilize your aircraft, that you've got, you know, full availability of the various airports and their opening hours. And then, of course, another very important factor that we have to always work against and we have to work towards when planning a schedule is your crew duty limits. So, you know, you can't just expect a pilot to work sort of overtime ad infinitum. Obviously, there's a safety risk associated with that. So, you know, your roster patterns are very closely worked out to ensure that you can fulfill your whole schedule. So it's not as easy as saying, hey guys, throw in an extra leg there and back. they're folks that need it. We have to make sure that we, of course, meet all of the required safety parameters as well.
Yeah. Talking about those safety parameters, we'll not use this, of course, to bash your competitors who are currently in trouble, but talk about the safety issues that, of course, you prioritize as FlySafe Air so that such incidents do not occur to your airline, because clearly they can happen to any airline.
Well, absolutely. I mean, ours is an incredibly strictly regulated industry, as it should be, and I think this is just another moment of evidence of that. And as a flying public, I mean, I would caution that no one should lose faith in the act of flying or lose faith in any particular carrier. I think what we should do is turn to the fact that we have a very active Civil Aviation Authority who are there, who are present, who are making sure that flying in South Africa is safe across the board. And that's actually something that, as much as obviously there are individuals who are deeply inconvenienced at this point, as a general flying public, we should have gratitude for the fact that this is an active and alive and a conscious body.
Right. For travelers who want to go by around the nation, what's the word from FlySafe Air? They shouldn't panic. You'll be able to at least supply something, and they should be rushing to your website.
Well, absolutely. There are still some seats available. Obviously, people are having to rearrange a lot of their plans at this stage. Perhaps finding flights that are available sort of a couple of days out. But it's certainly a good place to go to look for an option would be on our website at flysafeair.co.za.
Kirby Gordon, appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on. Chief Marketing Officer at FlySafe Air there. When we